Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I wanted to look at something that was sent to me in the mail. It was a video called Food Matters, Let Thy Food Be Thy Medicine, and anyone who is serious about their health needs to see this stunning film. I haven't actually seen that film yet, but the other thing was a book which I'm reading now called Wake Up to Health, and it was written by Stephen Ransom, who goes along and talks about something that I've talked about many times, and that is the fear factor and what happens with how you get controlled. Well, what he does is he talks about what to think, but how fear is the tactic. So I'm actually reading from the book itself, which is Stephen Ransom. Now, if I may apologize here for the couple that sent me this, and for the life of me I can't see the message, and the wrapper, which probably would have their return address and name, is long gone, and I apologize for this, but I get so many things and I get so many messages that the cotton wool in my brain will not always retain the name. I apologize, but I'm sure with those two titles you'll be able to know who you are. I thank you very much for this, and I'm finding it a very interesting book. So it's telling about the fear. The formula is simple. Using the mainstream media as a powerful vehicle for change, the pharmaceutical industries, the tablet manufacturers, are deliberately instigating fearsome national and international headlines. And then through these channels, the nightmare problem is manufactured. And what Stephen is actually saying, he's talking about how if you can get people afraid enough, boy, they'll do anything. They'll stay at home. And I always think this when I read about some of the things that happen. We've got so many millions of people, Filipinos, in the Philippines. I don't know what the population count is, but it's a lot. Millions and millions of people. We've got actually millions of expats that live here. Now, very recently we've had a very disturbing because of the fear factor. One expat was killed very recently. I'm sure that someone will jump up there and say, well, it's not just one, there's a lot, isn't it? I mean, they're killing them all over the place. Well, actually, they're not killing us all over the place. This was one man, and he got shot twice. It wasn't a random thing. The man was shot several times in the head and in the body. So we're not going to go into that because that's part of the fear factor. But it is reported in a way that will get the expats all talking. Well, what are we going to do? I think that somebody said, well, I think we should all wear a gun. And we're supposed to go along looking like Wyatt Earp in Dodge City, as if we're cleaning up the country and the planet, for all I know. But look at some of the things that Stephen Ransom has said. These are all BBC News, January 2003. Smallpox kills. It kills about 30% of those infected with the disease. Fears of killer flu epidemic. The world is on the brink of a flu epidemic which could claim millions of lives. Express newspapers. Tuberculosis. New spectre of the White Death. We had it beaten, but TB is back and deadlier than ever. Daily Mail, March 2001. Measles. Public health officials have stressed the severity of the situation. The government is now urging parents to take heed of this warning and have their children immunised with the MMR jab before an epidemic sweeps the nation. Reader's Digest, 2001. The new Armageddon. Oh, this is a good one, isn't it? Oh, God. With the advent of international travel, viruses cross time zones in a matter of hours. Experts experts, of course, have no doubt that the emergence of menacing microbes in one locale could bring about a worldwide pandemic. Are infectious diseases the new Armageddon? Charlene Leno, NBC News. The simple truth is, not one of these threats would cause us any loss of sleep, were we to be properly informed. But that's not really, and never has been, the job of the media. The media is about numbers, and if they could tell us that we were about to die the next day, and if they could do it every day, they would. Well, actually, they do in some form or another. Well, here the author is saying, what you don't know can hurt you. Says, well, and then there are the treatments themselves, vaccinations for all, a new generation of super antibiotics, and a host more cutting-edge health tests and emerging medicines. As responsible individuals, I get it out eventually, and I haven't been on the booze, and as parents especially, we need to take the time to examine these treatments more carefully. As the renowned toxicologist Samuel Epstein said, what you don't know can hurt you. With vaccinations especially, what exactly are the concerns being expressed by the anti-vaccination campaigners? Should we just roll up our sleeves and trust the wisdom of the day? How should we decide on the best course of action for ourselves and our children, and for the animal lovers among us? A special section on animal vaccination is included, along with important information on commercial pet foods and other toxic dangers we innocently force upon our furry friends. Well, we noticed very recently that we were sent by Mr. and Mrs. O, actually, with the best possible intention. They sent us some little cat treats, and thinking of it as food, and without reading any labels and not knowing any better, we used to give a handful to our beloved little furry friend, Golden, and guess what? Golden became addicted to these things and would behave quite badly. Would find the pack, knock it down, use all ingenious kinds of actions, and finally break into the thing and gorge on these things. She was addicted. Now, there's so much on the addiction of people. People were on Valium and Librium and had been on it for years in the UK when I was there back in 1900 and frozen to death, and especially women who suffered a little depression. Well, I'm not minimizing depression. I'm sure that it is a terrible thing to have, but it seemed to me at the time that the continual, just obvious, just renewal of the prescription, where women had been on Valium and Librium for years, just taking it every day. I actually worked with someone, a drummer, who I had in my band, and was a terrific guy, and one night I became aware that before we actually started the gig, we're all on stage, tiny little club in the West End, and we're all on stage actually getting ready to start. And one of his little ritual things that he did was on his side tom-tom, which is the one that has a flat top. Actually the others, as you know, are tilted and all of that. Well, he laid out on the drum about four pills, and then proceeded to take all 4 pills. And we're talking about a young man in his 20s, and here he is taking 4 pills. And I said to him, what? I asked him about it. What's the situation there? Take my glasses off now because I don't need them. And he said, well, I take these every night. And why are you doing that? Well, I get headaches, and I find that if I take, I think it was 4 aspirin, something like that. And he said, I just take these every night. And how long have you been doing that? Oh, turned out a long time. So here he is, and he is taking 4 aspirins every day. Every day before he starts work, bashing on the drums, he takes 4 aspirin and doesn't think anything of that. And that is what is in this book. I can't recommend the whole book right now, but there it is, and I like what I'm reading up front in the first few pages, right? So I'm really looking at this and thinking I'm going to enjoy this, and as I say, I am so sorry that I can't thank the person by name. I'm sure that they'll forgive me. They wanted me to have this because they could see that I might be interested by way of how I've spoken about various things in the past. So, the fear factor of the media is the title of this video, and it does mean that by scaring the pants off us, as I've said, they can get us to do things. Now, I'm looking at the media at the moment who are reporting on the vaccinations, I think, for dengue. Now, dengue is something that maybe you haven't heard of. I didn't know very much about it at all, actually, but it's something that is introduced into your bloodstream by a infected mosquito. The good old mosquito. I'll never forgive Noah for letting those 2 little devils in when he could have just gone. Anyway, that's my terrible way of discussing something that was in the Bible. I'm awfully sorry. Well, anyway, dengue has come up, and they've had a recommendation, of course, by the fear factor, about how dengue is the absolute killer thing, and it is very bad, and they've got a special insurance out. You go into if you go into Western Union, in the Western Union in Taliban, they have a special film, and it plays over and over again. From that viewpoint, I don't like going in. I want to do this and not look at this movie where it shows this giant screen-wide monster mosquito that's driving this, looks like a pneumatic drill into your skin, and I don't even like to look at it. Well, it sells a specific insurance for getting dengue. I've been here for 4 years, and thank the Lord, I haven't had dengue, and I haven't had the insurance either. But by inducing people with fear, then it changes the way that they behave. I get message after message from people who say, the thing that stops me from going to the Philippines is this, and they'll name some fear. I know one particular person, a big brave buddy of a guy, and he's afraid of everything. He knows every spider, he knows every mosquito, he knows every tick, he knows everything that can happen. He knows every drunk Filipino that's roaming around. I don't know who that man is, but he's always drunk, and he's a Filipino, and everywhere you go, he's there, just waiting to cause an accident. And our big brave buddy knows all about those. Everything that can possibly be feared, He knows it. Spiders, bees, stings, a whole lot. Now, how can you live in an atmosphere such as that? How can you live with a mindset which is based in fear of things that might happen? I read a funny excerpt from Catch-22, and that was where Yossarian, the main anti-hero, I suppose, talks about all of the things that he's got to be afraid of. And I'll have to read that again because it is actually funny in a scary kind of way. So, you can't live on fear. You can't live on fear-based beliefs because you'll never get out the door. Okay, this is A Foreigner in the Philippines. Once again, thank you for Food Matters, the video which I will look at, and thank you for this book which I'm going to enjoy. This is A Foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for looking, and thanks for being with me for just a few minutes. Bye for now.